Joe Orth and I are starting a podcast. What should we call it?
Hey, don't pick on me. You know why? Because this is why. Let's see what he says.
The Joe Show?
Give Joe the business?
That's right.
Cup of Joe.
Cup of Joe.
What is happening here?
Would you listen?
We'll give you a chance.
Thank you. That's Joe.
That's Rooster.
And this is episode 35 of the Together We Shall podcast. And I am excited to have reached 35. It's for me, it's an even number, but it's not. Joe, how are you?
I don't like the even number, but it's not thing, because I agree, but I also 36 and 34 does sound better than 35. But 35 times 2 is 70, and that's an even number. And the podcast has 2 hosts, so yeah, we're good.
Yeah, there's just a lot of I like 35 better than 34 or 36, but I'm an even number guy too. I just really love numbers that are not even, but they are, like 35. Anyway, what's happening down in your world?
Man, yeah, based on when this will really be released, just got back from Florida, but I'm actually getting ready to go to Florida, which I'm pretty excited about, to see some folks that I haven't seen in 19 years, some fellow Marines. We did a couple deployments together, and outside of former guest Tim Davis, I haven't seen a lot of these guys in nearly 20 years. So that should be fun, and there's a lot going on across the Ainsley's Angels family, as you will be partaking in some of that.
Yeah, indeed. I will, by the time this launches, I will have just gotten back from the Indy Mini that Christy High has grown over the years. So if anybody's hearing this, plan to go maybe to Indy Mini in 2024. I want to table all the conversation about what you're going to do and experience down in Florida, though, for next episode, because I really want to hear about how that is for you. There's going to be a lot to unpack, and hopefully you'll share some of it with us. But next episode will be pretty cool too, because if all goes well, we'll be talking about a lot of things, namely mental health and PTSD and some of the stuff that maybe you're going to knock on the door with a little bit with that crowd you deployed with. Who knows? But yeah, we're not going to get into that right now because it's early May, and what's coming up next weekend is it's Mother's Day week. How cool is that? I think it's cool. Do you celebrate Mother's Day, Joe?
No, I'm not a mother, but yes, we celebrate with Leanne and Jean and Sarah, and I see what you did there too with the Mother's Day, and that was a great feeder into our guest today.
Yes. So without further ado, maybe we should get a mother in the room. We're going to ask Lauren to come off mute, and we're going to say, hello, Lauren. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So we always ask our guests to share right up front, where are you physically located, and why do you think you are a guest on the Together We Shall podcast?
Okay. I am in Spring, Texas. It's a suburb of Houston, North Houston. And I think I'm a guest because I'm a mother of an angel rider, and I'm also a runner, and I push her, and I'm fairly new to the Ainsley's Angel family, but I like it.
I think those are decent answers, Joe. There's so much who wants to do it? Who wants to come in with it?
Oh man, go for it. You're literally, for our viewers, bouncing.
Yeah, I am bouncing. So yes, Lauren, those are the reasons, but we also have a lot of moms who are angel runners who push their own angel riders in races. But as far as I know, there is this little detail you didn't mention that doesn't identify you, but it makes you a little bit of a different. Yeah, but you said, but it does. Yeah, go ahead.
But it does. Yeah, I'm a mother to sextuplets.
Okay, stop.
And that's my claim to fame.
All right, so there's a listener right now that's going, wait, what did she just say? So slower and in English, go.
Yes, I have 11-year-old sextuplets. So I had 6 babies at one time. 3 boys, 3 girls.
So like, you know how they was it like twins, like skips a generation, but like it runs in the family? Does sextuplets, does that fall in? I have so like the only thing I know of
Yeah.
sextuplets, it's not even sextuplets, because it was those people that turned out to be really bad people, John and Kate, but it doesn't matter. That was 8. So, but
The
does the
Octomom,
sextuplets,
yes, I've
yeah,
heard of the Octomom. I'm not the Octomom.
the sextuplets like run in either of y'all's sides of the family tree?
Oh, no. No multiples. No. Not
Is
at all.
but is it and Joe and I have a million questions, and neither one of us did our
Ask them
research. Yeah, so we're going to represent all our listeners that have a million questions, and some of them might not be like the best questions ever. But like, can I just assume that this was in vitro? Is that how you say it?
It wasn't fertility. Yes, I struggled with infertility, but it was not in vitro. It was IUI, which is explaining intrauterine insemination. In layman's terms, turkey basting.
That is that is layman's terms, but I still don't know what that means because I fry all my turkeys. So
Joe is cracking up, but that's
look,
that's the visual. You do all the shots and the hormones like you would do with in vitro to prep, but it's not the actual surgery procedure to transfer eggs and things. It's just helped by the scientific turkey baster to get things where they need to go
okay, look, what
at the perfect right time from all the drugs that you take.
this is an adult podcast, generally speaking. So please, if you need to use words like semen and sperm and things,
Okay,
it's okay.
okay.
What is
Yeah.
turkey basting for children?
That's okay. If there's no, I don't want parents to have to explain things they're not ready to explain.
We checked the E on podcasting,
Okay.
so it's
Okay,
like
good
this.
to know. They take the semen and the sperm, put it in the. I mean, it looks like a tiny turkey baster. It's exactly what it looks like. You lay on a table with your legs up, and they put it in. You have to lay there for 15 minutes, and you hope that you get pregnant. By then, it takes all the guesswork of it. I mean, because they know you are ovulating, an egg is releasing right now. We are going to inseminate this right now and hope that it works. So it's not as involved or nearly as expensive as in vitro, but there's also more risk. Like at the time I was doing it, it was 25% effect. There's a 25% chance you'd be pregnant with a single baby. And then the odds of multiples were lower and lower. I believe, just because this sticks in my brain, obviously, it was like 12% you're going to be twins, like 5% you'd have triplets. So the odds of sextuplets were like very, very small. Like when they're explaining it to you, you're like, well, whatever, it's not going to happen. I mean, I'm just trying to get pregnant. It's only a 25% chance. So shocked understatement.
Yeah. So like in that situation though, is it your husband is David?
Mhm.
Did my research. I know there's a blog, Rooster.
Oh, must have Googled me.
Is that like is the reason for the 6 his sperm or the IUI shots or just
It was
perfect?
the IUI I mean, technically, because they're monitoring, like I was going in for ultrasounds every day to monitor my progress based on the hormones I was taking, to know when the right time to do the procedure was. And at the time, I had 2 eggs that were ready to be, they're like, these 2 are the right size. You have 1 that's almost there, and the rest are way too small to be released and fertilized. But yet, 6 different eggs got released and fertilized and implanted. And I mean, my doctor he's like, I reviewed your case over and over again, and this makes no sense. Like, it makes no sense that all of this happened.
The sarcastic nature of myself, I'd be like, yeah, doc, it's fine, but you're paying for college. That's like you gotta hook me up with something. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, they immediately, when I had the first ultrasound, when they were like, something's going on based on your blood work, let's come in for an ultrasound. And we saw that there were 6. And like your brain does not exactly absorb that information. It's just staring at the screen like, huh? And they take you to the office next door and start talking about reducing the number of babies.
Whoa.
And saying like, you need to decide.
So you went from we're trying our best and doing everything in our power to get pregnant to, hey, by the way, like you're over pregnant. We need to look at these other options.
Like I like to say, we got our money's worth with the fertility drugs. But yeah, basically you're pregnant, then it's hold on, like something's weird. I mean, will never forget the moment in that ultrasound, and in my brain, the doctor was quiet for a really long time because he said, "There's, you probably have multiples. How many do you think?" And I was like, "I don't know, 3." Like that was crazy. And he was quiet, and I was like, "What do you see? What's going on?" And he was like, "Well, I counted 5. I found a 6th one," and that's when it's like, that's people on TV. Like that's not real people. And then he's like, "We have to have a conversation now." And he's like, you have a few weeks to think about it, but you have to decide if you are going to go for it and try to have all 6, or if you want to reduce it down. And that's, I mean, by far the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. It was, I mean, I know some people go into that and know right away one way or the other. I know people who've done both ways. Like there's no way I'm going to try, and then people are like, there's no way I could reduce, and it was really hard for me. I went back and forth. I waited till the last minute, and because you hear all the risks of trying to carry that many babies, the risk for your health, the risk for their health, or what could happen, and that's all the doctors are telling you. And then, but then it's, we tried so hard to get pregnant, and here we are, and it doesn't really make any sense. And just, and like, could we do it or could we not? And I mean, that's a lot. Ultimately, what made me decide, and I obviously was talking to my husband, we were talking to our friends and family and pastors, and in the moment when I asked my doctor, my OB at that time, I said, how do you decide which ones? Because originally he had said, if there's one where the heartbeat's not strong or one that's not growing, like, well, that's where we would reduce it. And at that point, they were all exactly the same. Like, they're all the same. How would you pick? He said the easiest ones to get to. And I just, that I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't do it. I'm going for it. And the second I said, like, I'm going to go for it. We're going to have all 6. I mean, he's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can do to get you to 28 weeks. And we're in it together. And that was that. That was the goal.
Okay. So like, there's so many things. At the risk of like making this a political conversation, I'm just going to say I'm glad you had the opportunity to make that choice.
Oh, me too.
Well, man, yeah, you said it in a way that like I'm thinking about it, but like the other day I came back from the urologist after booking my appointment to, prevent pregnancies, I guess. And at the corner was a pro-abortion, like a rally.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep using the term reduce.
Yeah.
And I, like Bruce said, I'm not trying to get political, but like in my mind, I'm just curious, like what does in your mind, Rooster's mind, my mind, I don't know either, right? Like by reducing, is that considered abortion? I don't know. And you didn't do it, so it's like no one's getting mad. Yeah.
Because that's the medical term for it, is reducing the pregnancy. And medically, and what I believe is that it's not considered abortion because it's almost like considered a medical necessity for the mother's health in getting from 6 down to twins or triplets. But you are technically ending that
Yeah.
fetus, or I'm going to get the technical terms wrong probably, but it's a blurry line. I mean, that's why it was a struggle to decide what was best thing to do in that situation. And it's such a weird situation. Like no one's, I don't know anyone who's done that or been in that situation to ask. And like, I mean, I distinctly remember going to our pastors because our faith is very important to us. And then like, what are we doing here? And they gave me a Bible verse, and it is still my favorite Bible verse, how I made many decisions since then. It's Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. And everywhere while I was in that decision, that verse would pop up somewhere. Someone would send it to me. I would read it somewhere randomly. It was just over and over and over again. And when the doctor told me how the procedure works, it was like it all clicked in my mind. Like, okay, God, you made this happen, and we're going with it.
At some point, you leave scientific thinking and you lean into faith.
Yes, very much so.
That is like the definition of having faith.
Yes.
And I can only assume, and I'm not assuming because you've kind of said it already, to be the mother of 6 now, today, I think you say 11 years later, it has required a ton of faith and some science and some together we
Yes.
shall.
Yes, very much together we shall. It is a team of people that have gotten us this far.
So I definitely want to talk about what that team looks like today because I have a million questions about that, and so does Joe. But dude, that was a lot to unpack early on. So let's go ahead and break into Miller time.
Go right into it.
I feel like I need a beer after that.
So
It's almost noon here, so maybe.
You can't
ladies,
drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
yeah, there you go, Joe. Well done, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Miller time. That part of the podcast, we welcome you to grab your favorite beverage, whether or not that's water or Miller Lite, which some people think are the same thing. You can also use Gatorade, other electrolyte-driven drinks. Joe, what are you drinking today?
I'm going, man, with the good old intro again, and a cup of Joe.
Okay, I
With
like
my
that.
MCT oil in it.
Yeah. Well, okay. What? Yeah.
Mono something triglycerides. I don't know. They're
okay.
good. They're good for you, they say.
Are you gonna come up pregnant, putting that kind of stuff in you?
I hope not, because I've been drinking it for a while. If I come out pregnant, and do I still get a vasectomy?
I don't know how that works. I would have 4 million questions. But back to Lauren. What are you sipping on? You're welcome to share that with us.
It's just, made it myself, not fancy.
What does
that say?
Yeah, what does your cup say?
It says, someone gave me this. It's my name on one side, and it says fueled by caffeine and fitness, which is true.
Okay.
The only thing that could have been better for it was the Proverbs quote.
True. Yeah.
No,
I was hoping it was. I was hoping it was. Man.
Okay, so we're gonna go. So 11 years old. The kids are 11 now. 3 girls, 3 boys. One of which is one of our Angel Riders. Do the other 5 do running with Ainsley's Angels, or athletics, or dance, or what are all the things that are happening in the children's world?
Let's see, they are all very different and have very different interests, of course, as all kids do. Done different things. I have one of my girls actually is in Scouts, Boy Scouts, but it's now just Scouts. So she just moved up in a troop and will be starting working on her Eagle Scout. Another girl who tried violin this year but decided she hates it. So now we're going to go to theater. Okay. And I have 2 that want to run, and we're doing actually our first race together this coming weekend. So we'll see how that goes. Low expectations. It's always how I start. I have one boy who's super reader, so that's more his jam is reading and learning how to computer program. And Andrew, and to Legos and drones and things like that. So not super athletic, but I found athletics when I was in my 20s. So there's still plenty of time for that.
Scout, I want to ask that. Did you say it's not Boy Scout, but it's not Girl Scout?
It
Is that
is
because
Boy Scouts, but they've now changed it to where it's just Scouts of America. So girls can do it too.
okay, cool. Yeah, real cool. So there am I correct in saying there's no longer Boy Scouts of America? Is that a true statement?
It's Scouts of America. I mean,
Cool.
yeah,
But
that's
there's
what,
still Girl Scouts. There's Girl
there's
Scouts
still
and the
Girl
Scouts
Scouts.
of
So that's why I
America.
clarify, because Girl Scouts is its own separate entity. We're not selling cookies. You have to go somewhere else for the cookies.
Okay,
Y'all got
copy.
popcorn, right? Scouts has popcorn.
They have popcorn,
Yeah.
some very expensive popcorn.
Yes. So yeah, just to put a bow on that, Boy Scouts of America is now Scouts of America. Girl Scouts of America is now Girl Scouts of America. Two
Yes.
separate entities, two separate 501c3s, probably both with group rulings, and I'm geeking out now, but I completely understand. So thank you. Girl Scouts are cookies. Boy Scouts are no longer existing. They are now Scouts, and they have popcorn, and it's really expensive. For all you listeners, you're welcome.
That's my understanding. So yeah, works.
I just learned all this like 2 months ago because they were selling it outside of the store, and I was like, wait a minute, like Boy Scouts was like missing or something. I was like, like the word boy. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm confused here.
Got it. So then we have a violin situation, violin leaning into theater. That's neat. I love everything about that. We have a reader who wants to do computers also. So he's like he or she's going to become programmer. Maybe.
We'll see. Well, most of them want to be YouTubers. That's their big goal in life.
Yeah, well,
I mean-
Joe and I had that goal too, and then we started a podcast, and now we're YouTubers. Not really. We have Briley and I started Spotlight Saturday in 2016. I'm just gonna say, for all you people that want to be YouTubers, it is a lot of work.
It's weird because it's like my sort of like peers, I guess. That Jake and Logan Paul are like two of the predominant original like YouTubers, I think, from they grew up in Disney and then
Oh,
they just
yeah.
started doing and they're like they were some of the first ones to like brothers each had the like the gold record. They got all their million views and they made millions and millions and millions. And it's like, damn, why didn't I do that?
Right? My kids
I don't
love
know.
Perfect, and it's like those are just a bunch of best friends goofing around.
No kidding, said it the other day. I was like, they're my new heroes. Like they're like that's like when I see them play, they're having the greatest time. And now they're building a $1 million facility. I think they're in
Yep.
Dallas, right? It's like
Yeah.
Who is it?
Dude perfect.
Bro. I guess
Dude.
my children are too old. I don't know
No.
what that is.
Dude perfect. Like
I enjoy them.
it's the
Okay.
great Camden knows about it for sure.
I'm going to dudeperfect.com right now because I don't know what's going on. Okay. Oh, there's a YouTube channel. Okay, I'm gonna get back to task here.
It'll
And then
take time to research.
and then Andrew Legos drones. Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everybody's got their jam. So like what does a mother of 6 children that are all the same age? Well, wait, are they the same age? Let's go back in time.
Oh.
So
and
let's
happy belated, like just the last week, right?
Yeah, a week ago they turned 11.
So let's go back 11 years and a half ago. So did you make it to 28 weeks?
I did. I made it to 30, which was really good.
Okay. So is there anything you want to tell us about those 30 weeks?
Ooh, very uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable 30 weeks. I mean, really, as far as a sextuplet pregnancy can go, it went pretty smoothly. I hardly had any complications. I watched a lot of TV. I ate as much as I possibly could because that was the goal, is to gain as much weight as I possibly could. At the very end was when we knew something was up with Leah, and that was what determined when I would deliver. And I remember right that last appointment, because it was a Friday evening, he said, he's like, I'm not sure this one's still moving anymore, and if it's her moving or she's just getting kicked by her siblings. So at that point, he's like, 30 weeks, it's time. We're just going to take you over right now. And the hospital had been running simulations of a sextuplet delivery to prepare. So they're born on a Monday morning. I remember because they needed the weekend to get everybody there who'd been involved. So we knew she was sick. We just had no idea. We were very naive into what we were getting into with her and all her needs she would have.
Had you been on a little bit of bed rest and they brought you in?
Yeah,
and-
I called it home rest. I was allowed to get up and do things. It was very exhausting. I couldn't stand up for very long periods of time. Like walking across the room, I'd be out of breath. And as a runner, everyone was like, we're not used to this Lauren. We're used to Lauren running circles around everybody, not like, oh, I take 3 steps and I need a minute. I need a break. So I mostly wasn't getting up anywhere. It was a process to just sit up. I remember like walk myself up and get up, and I was, very front heavy.
So how long were the children in the hospital until everybody was home?
The first 2 came home after 5.5 weeks in the NICU, and Leah was the last one. She was 5.5 months, and it was all, happened to be staggered. We didn't plan that way, but we had 2, and then the 3rd one came a few weeks later, the 4th one, the 5th one. So they happened to be spaced out, which the challenge of that is, of course, you have some at home and you have some in the hospital, and you're trying to balance that out. So unfortunately, the ones that were in the hospital longer, I saw less and less and less, because at that point I have, 3 and 4 babies at home. I'm trying to figure out how to manage that care and have volunteers coming in and trying to teach them what to do. And then, the good part of it was that to phase it in, like we had twins, and I remember telling everyone, like, I got to figure out how to do twins by myself. Because if I can't do 2 or 3 by myself, I'm screwed. So I need 2 or 3. So then, then 4, I was like, okay, now it's hard.
Yeah.
Help, anybody. So I was able to kind of get routines down and then add another one in. And it's like, okay, let's add another one in. And we kind of got down. And by the time we had 5 home, I remember thinking, like, we're good. I can add this 6th one in. Okay. Just naive. No clue. Because Leah was her own, mostly it was the feeding tube at the beginning, trying to figure that out. And like, oh, she's crying all the time, and we have to figure out this tube, and I don't know, and there's the 5 other ones, and it was a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah, it definitely was a lot. The order in which they came home, was that the same order in which they were born? And I don't want to confuse
No.
this whole. Okay, so that they were the order in which they were born is different from the order in which they came home, and is it? I mean, what? I don't even know what I want to know here. I'm like, who was first?
Well, here you go. And without obviously knowing their names, right? Baby 1 came out at noon for easy math, right?
Uh-huh.
Baby 6 came out at what time?
Oh, they were born in 4 minutes.
Oh, because
Whoa.
C-section.
Yeah.
C-section. Was it C-section?
It's a C-section.
Of
They were
course,
40
okay.
seconds apart. They were all 40 seconds
Okay.
apart. Mhm.
Okay, all
It
right.
was
Like,
very
dude,
quick.
Okay. Yeah, I was. But what's still crazy to me is you talked about how, like, born on a Monday, you made it to 30 weeks. Like, that was already like a win.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then, like, the simulation, like, when you say it like that, and plus Houston, I'm thinking like testing a rocket ship. Like, we're going to simulate, the X going up. It's like, you had to. I remember,
Yeah.
Owen, my oldest, he was born at 32, 34. It was an even number weeks. And like one kid came out and 4 people took him to the NICU. So I'm doing that. I was doing that math. I'm like, well, that if 6, I was like, is that 24 people? There was 24
There
people
were
then?
35 people in my delivery room.
35!
Yes, episode 35.
Perfect.
Oh man, we can just cut to music, dude. The episode's over.
30? Like, but that's not a delivery room. That's like the delivery hospital.
Yeah, because each baby had their team of people. I had my team of people. I'm pretty sure there were some like students in there observing. At that point, I didn't even care. I was like, oh, who else wants to come in here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that related to Lori. My oldest was born at a military hospital. It's a teaching hospital, and at some point she was like, "Yeah, y'all all come in." There's like
Yes.
35 students in there. Anyway, yeah, that's a wild stuff. Anyway, okay, so all the kids are home. Leah has special needs. Did you have a diagnosis at that time, or what did you know about her
Not
journey?
at, we really didn't know anything at first. It was just she's sick. And I don't even think we even realized how sick she was at the time because the media, I haven't mentioned, the media like exploded the day they were born, and we did not anticipate that. So, amongst finding out she's sick, you have 6 babies, here's all this NICU stuff going on. Oh, by the way, there are news vans parked out of the hospital and in front of your house. And they are stalking your in laws and your grandma and your husband's work, trying to find out information of y'all because there's no information of y'all. So we're just normal people. Like, we're not on, we're not online and we haven't been in the news. And that wasn't our intention to do that. So, like, deal with that. It's like Today Show and Good Morning America are fighting over who gets the exclusive. Who do you want to give that to? You're going to be on the news, and they're scouring your Facebook and anything they can find on the internet for pictures of you to put. And we're like, what? Excuse me, you need to write a blog now. And it's like, okay. Also, your daughter's having emergency surgery at her bedside, and it's just this surreal, weird experience. Leah had her first surgery. She was a week old, and that's when we had found out part of her intestines was essentially dead. So they had to cut out the dead section and give her an ostomy bag. I call it a poop bag. The poop goes in there and they have to clean it out and let everything heal before they can put her back together. And that was really all we thought was wrong at first. But they were 1 week old. The next day we were doing the Today Show exclusive interviews. And the day after that, we were doing a press junket with a conference and all these interviews. And it was just like, what is life? What is happening here? And then they did a scan for something else random, and we found out about all the brain issues. And that's when the MRI came back, and it's paraventricular leukomalacia, which in, again, layman's terms, is where her brain was supposed to develop and have brain matter is just cysts. So her brain didn't fully develop. She got buried under everyone else in my belly those last couple weeks of my pregnancy and just didn't get the nutrients she needed. So the part of her brain that is not there is most of the occipital lobes and some of the temporal. So she's not going to see, she's nonverbal, she's not going to talk. She does have cerebral palsy and she's wheelchair bound. All these things we kind of found out over time. They just told us, like, this is what's going on with the brain. And at that moment, she was 2 months old. They're like, this is what her brain looks like. She's never going to be able to do anything, is what we were told. And I was like, well, my background's I was a school psychologist before I got pregnant. So I knew some about interventions and therapies and what to do with how to help with special needs. And I was asking, like, what do we try this? What do we try this? And they said, you can try whatever you want, but it's not going to do any good. She's not ever going to do anything. So, like, doctors could have done a little better relaying that information. But I'm much more stubborn and determined than to take that as an answer. And it's like, well, I'm going to try. So I just went into research mode of like, well, what can we do? Through my OB, I got connected with another mom whose daughter had similar issues, and she helped me, like, you need to get in with this doctor and start therapies. And that was a big help. I've always just been able to kind of make connections with people who've gone before me and helped guided me in where I needed to go. Even I got connected with a local mom of quintuplets, so she was super helpful that first year of how to handle the multiples and manage the volunteers and the schedule.
What did you just say? How many?
She had 5 at once.
Okay. Is that penta or something?
Quint.
Quint. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the Pentagon, 5 sides. Anyway.
So, but, I mean, back to Leah. So I mean, she was in the NICU a long time, trying to heal her gut and figure out how we could feed her. She came home with the NG tube through her nose, and because they were going to try to bottle feed her, that was a disaster. That went horrible. And all it did was just stress me and her out all day long. 'Cause it just she wouldn't take it. So then we went back to the NICU when she was 6 months old. I think she was home for 10 days. And they put in the G tube, learned how to use the G tube. She had terrible reflux, so was learning how to deal with all the vomit. Eventually saw her eyes like weren't tracking, and went to the ophthalmologist, and that's when basically told me the same thing, like, oh, she's got cortical visual impairment. It's a bad diagnosis. Nothing you can do. What it is. And that's just not, I just wasn't expecting, I didn't know what I was expecting here, but it wasn't that. So I cried the whole way home, and then started Googling and realized, oh, they do have therapies, and there are things you can do with cortical visual impairment. There's a lot you can do. So I started making up my own therapies. I got her hooked in with vision services through ECI, and she does respond to some visual stuff. It's just depends on the day, but she is wheelchair bound. She is blind. She doesn't speak, but she's very expressive in her own way, as all kids are. All nonverbal kids are expressive in their own way. I mean, she walks around in her gait trainer. So in a lot of ways, she's doing way more than they made it out to be. And that's with, I say, like, very divided energy, because I have 5 other kids to balance my energy and time with. So she doesn't get the full attention and full effort, where if she was my only child that she would. But she's a happy kid.
Yeah, and how are the siblings interacting? How is 11-year-olds running around, all 6 of them? How does that work? Is it what you would expect? Is it, yeah, kids will be kids, or what's that relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Kids are, I mean, generally they get along. Do they fight and argue? Yes, but they're siblings, and siblings are gonna fight and argue. And we're entering the tween years, and that's proven to be a new phase of challenge. I'm learning along with them, with all the new, we're starting to grow up a little bit. We're starting to get an attitude. This is the next phase. I was like, I don't know how fun this is gonna be.
One random question that I wrote down: how do you come up with 6 names?
Oh, that's a
Like, we struggle to come up with 1 and then 1 again. 6? I'd have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 done.
I mean, I don't know any difference. This is the only experience I've had, but I think it's easier because 1 name, you have to agree on 1 name. 6, my husband was like, I really want a Levi and a Leah. Okay, Levi and Leah.
You get 2. You
really
get
want
2.
a Ben and an Allison. Okay, well, now we need 2 more. and he was like, I just want a Levi and Leah, and I don't care. So I named the other ones.
Yeah, that's a cool question, Joe. I love that question. That's fun.
Well, something that was going to stress me out, you made it unstressful. Not I'm not going to have to name 6 kids, but that's perfect answer. You get 2, you get 2, or you get 2 and you get 4. It's like the finding the silver lining, just like you had when you started bringing them home at 5 weeks. All right, got 2, perfect. Now I got 3, 4. It's just find that
perspective.
Yeah, perspective. That's the word. And as you alluded to, this is your first rodeo. You didn't have another child at home, and you didn't have preconceived notions. You're just attacking or adapting as life was coming at you. And
you do what you have to do.
Yeah. So when was the first time that the whole family of 8 was home for Mother's Day?
It was 2013. Yeah.
Okay. And what did we do on the Mother's Day for what does that look like?
Okay. I don't really care about Mother's Day. I'm sorry.
Awesome. I love it. I love the honest answer. Thank you. So what are you going to do this Mother's Day?
This Mother's Day, I don't know. Did remind my children this weekend that it is coming up soon. And Levi, who is my jokester, he's funny. He said, "Well, your gift is gonna be a hug."
Love that.
I don't have any money, Mom. He's like, "Well, I do. I got some for my birthday, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna spend it on what I want." And Lily
How,
Strong.
speaking of birthday, how does gifts for birthdays work?
Well, these days they want gift cards to Amazon. They like to get on Amazon and pick out what they want, and they know. And I like it because it teaches them the budget. Because I'm like, okay, you have $50 on your little account. You can spend it on whatever you want because it's your birthday money. And they do really good. They'll watch it, or some will save it for later. Some blow through it as fast as they can. But I mean, that's tend to be what everyone gets them these days, and it's easy. Get a gift card. My kids are
Yeah.
generally easily pleased with anything that's their own, and they don't have to share.
I am like the biggest advocate of gift cards. Like for years, like people were getting stressed out. What am I going to get? I'm like, you don't have to worry about it. Go to Walgreens. They got the card and then a gift card to anything you want. And like that's awesome. And I like it's like my kids, we have the Amazon tablets and like how you have to
Mhm.
approve everything. Like so then like teaching them how to budget is even a bigger win for that.
And it's important. Well, and sometimes I'm like, I have one who's into those stack cups right now, and he's like, I just want to buy more stack cup sets. I'm like, you have 3. Do we need another set of stack cups? Like,
Of course we do.
yeah, we do. I'm like, let's wait on it. Because by, at the end of May, you'll probably be over the stack cups, and then you've wasted all your money on 5 stack cup sets.
So what does today look like? I mean, earlier you're talking about volunteers and helpers and different things.
Mhm.
I mean, your family of 8 lives in one home. Do you
Mhm.
have other people live in your home? Do you have people coming by your home? Like what's that looked like?
When they were babies, yes, I had a calendar I would send out every month to anyone who said they would help. They got added on my email list, and they got the calendar, and they could sign up for a shift to come help feed babies, or they bring a meal. We had people mowing our lawn. It was like a revolving door. I didn't even lock my door. People were in and out, and they would have their set times they would sign up for. So these days, no. They're 11. They're independent for their age, so they
Yeah.
take care of themselves for the most part. Currently, Leah does have a nurse that comes during the week for the afternoon and evenings, and that's really helpful to have someone help with her. And we've had people like that off and on throughout the years to come and help with her, which makes daily life a lot easier because then I know someone is watching her and doing her care while I'm running the carpool and taking someone here or there, and not having to necessarily load her up and take her with us somewhere I know she's going to be miserable. There's still people that helped when they were babies that we met then that are still basically family now that I would call in a heartbeat. That day-to-day stuff is much simpler now.
I gotta know, like what do you
What
how
do
are
I
you
drive?
transporting?
Yeah, I had the same question. She said carpooling earlier, and I'm like, what are we driving?
We are a giant van.
Oh, 16 pack?
I used to have a 12 passenger Nissan NV. That's when I looked like a UPS truck. Now I look like an Amazon truck. I have a Ford Transit because 2 years ago, Leah was just getting too big for a regular car seat and for me to maneuver her, and it was not fun for anyone. So we got the Ford Transit because it's a wheelchair lift in the back now for her, which makes life a million times better. So it is like a 15 passenger size, but it only seats 8 actual seats because most of it's the wheelchair. But
That's
it fits all of us.
that's got to be a huge help to have that. I mean, that's
Oh, well, she's way more comfortable, which is the main thing.
Can you go through the drive-through and that?
Yes, I have learned the hard way that you need to pay attention to the clearance.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, the stories we could tell. Hi, Kendra.
I have tons of stories.
Oh God. So,
Now I know
yeah.
what the clearance is for sure.
At some point here in this conversation, we got to get back to get to your running journey. But at some
All my
time in
fitness
the
stuff. Yeah.
your fitness stuff in the near future, you need to captain a Ainsley's Ragnar team. And you, Leah, and however many of your runner friends go out in a van and run for 200 miles and
I have
pay
never
attention to
done one of
clearance.
those, and I've always wanted to.
Well,
That is a goal for some point.
with I don't know how to say it without sounding weird. I am your man to talk to about that.
Like there's so many things we could tell you about that. We have many videos on our YouTube channel that kind of play that out. But Joe and I have had the honor of sharing the relay races with numerous people and riders in numerous areas, and it's fun. And there's actually one in Texas, but I don't want to derail the conversation to be about Ragnar, although we could definitely do that. If anybody's listening and they want to do Ragnar at Ainsley'sAngels.org.
Tangents and thoroughfares, right? So yeah, if you are listening or watching and you want to participate in a Ainsley's Ragnarian team, right? Ragnar at Ainsley'sAngels.org. But also if you want to run Marine Corps Marathon in 2023 or ride Marine Corps Marathon in 2023, Joe at Ainsley'sAngels.org. Fun fact, both of those emails are mine anyway. Lauren actually emailed us and was like, "Hey, I'm cool. I should come on the podcast." And we were like, "You're in."
So
So
that's a
email
plug.
podcast at if you want to be on the podcast. And I monitor that one too.
Not only did Lauren email podcast at, but like her ambassador also hit podcast at. So kind of a good segue. You said you're active with Ainsley's Angels of
Yes.
Greater Houston. When did
Yeah.
that start? How'd you get tied in? And how's the journey been?
It was a long time coming. So I mentioned I was a runner before I had my kids, and I was very involved in the Houston area, running community and a running club, held positions, trained year round, had my racing seasons, full into it. And obviously that's came to a screeching halt when I got pregnant.
Those damn turkey basters.
And that was the end of that for a while.
I couldn't help myself. That was my effort
And
at humor. Anyway.
hey, I have a sense of humor. I can find humor in pretty much anything. So slowly got back into running because when you're that active, to stop being active, it messes with your mental health. It's when you're in the Groundhog Day of babies, and that was all my life could be for a couple years, was this 24-hour schedule and people coming in and managing that, and that's all I could do. Besides walking them, I had a 6-seater stroller, so we would go on walks every day. Eventually missed it, and it's like I want to do something, and I happened to find this little group of runners, and we would meet at 5 a.m. every day and run the same loop, and they kind of became my sanity group of at least I got out of the house and had adults to talk to. And way back before kids, I would see the Ainsley's Angels doing races, and I just thought it was the coolest thing because I worked with kids with special needs. So to see them be able to participate in races as a runner, I loved it. And the timing just wasn't right way back then. I think it wasn't so prominent in my area of Houston, and just didn't work out. Timing wasn't right. So fast forward a lot of years, I'd gotten back into running a little bit. We moved to where I met Heather, who's now the ambassador of Greater Houston Ainsley's Angels.
We should pause and say hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Yes, Heather. Cheers to Heather.
Well, I just got a
Big
text from Heather.
instigator of my life. Here she is.
Yes, I just got a text from her too. I think what did this text say? Oh, how many quarter zips do we have in inventory? Well, apparently, all you Houston people, there's going to be an opportunity for you to get an A6 quarter zip. Anyway, I digress. Stay tuned. I digress.
Heather.
Oh, look.
Haley has different
Not
diagnoses
looking.
than Leah.
You got to look at the screen.
Oh, that's me pushing Leah. That was the best day.
Make sure I get a copy of that picture for the Instagram. By the way, if you don't know, the podcast has its own Instagram, and we will be posting pictures of you and Leah and others related to things that we've talked about from this episode onto
Send
that.
y'all the finisher picture when we're
Yeah.
jumping. Heather's daughter Kaylee, a similar, different diagnoses, but they present similar to Leah's. So she was a great resource for me when I first met her. We moved here of doctors and treatments and things to do. And you know, we were in touch. We were in the same Bible study group for a while, and then we kind of got in touch. And then she, you know, it's like, Kaylee is doing Ainsley's Angels, and you and Leah need to do it.
That
So
sounds like Heather. That sounds just like
Heather.
Heather. Yeah, straight
And-
soldier. You will do
Yeah.
Ainsley's
This is
Angels.
what you need to do. You will love it. You and Leah will love it. And I think at the time, I believe, if I remember correct, I had just hurt my hip. So I wasn't running. And in my stubborn, determined runner self, if someone was going to push Leah, it is going to be me. So we can't do it yet. And it's told her no. It's like, and at the time I was really discouraged with my injury and was kind of thinking like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to run again. It just hurts. And if I try to run, it hurts. And if I make it worse. And I'm a fitness instructor, so I'm active all the time and I work out a lot and I teach and I do all those things. So that takes up a lot of time too. And then a little over a year ago, there was a 5K and she was, you know, Heather doesn't give up. She's like, here's a 5K. It's right by your house. We're doing it. You need to do it. And I was like, okay. At this point, like, I'm not running great, but I'm running again. So I was like, okay, it's only 3 miles. We'll do it. We'll see how this goes. And practice, she let me borrow a training chariot, and I was like, okay, Leah likes it. She's super chill. She's happy being pushed. I can do it. And I hadn't been running or racing. Plus it was COVID before that. So it'd been a while. And it's just like the instant falling in love with it again. Like, you know, I would say there's nothing like race day. I do all kind of stuff. I love fitness and I love all the different modalities of exercise, but there's nothing like race day. And it was just such a fun experience. I loved seeing all the riders and how excited they were to be there and be included, and just the whole running community. Everybody's cheering everybody on, and you know, good job and glad you're here and have fun. And you know, we have our little flags with their names on their chariots, and hearing everyone cheer as we're running by. And it was just fun to be out there. And my daughter she's almost, it's like super relaxed. She's just so chill and just smiling. She loves being cheered for. So smiling with the cheers and the animal sounds and the nature and being outside. So then, you know, I had to come back to Heather and be like, you're right. We love it.
It was funny. I saw Rooster when you were like, if anyone's going to push Leah, it's going to be me. Rooster was like, yeah, I know. Rooster knows that feeling very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a lot for me to get to a point where I was like, yeah, let me share this opportunity. Ainsley has a lot of people that love her, so why not let them all connect? And eventually it got real easy because my oldest daughter at the time, who was 9, and Ainsley was 6, Briley started to push Ainsley in races. And then that was really fun to see them kind of develop and connect. And then this, you know, my sister wanted to, and in-laws and cousins. And so it is fun to share. But
I would love that if you know, when my kids are older and they want to push her, that would be cool. We did the Twilight 5K, and I had a group of friends come and we all took turn pushing it. It's fun. Eventually, I'm sure I will pass over the reins and let someone else push her. Well, eventually I'm like, she's just going to get bigger and I'm just going to get older. So at some point I might have to just be a cheerleader, and that's okay.
Totally okay. Yeah. I mean, I did mention Briley was 9, Ainsley was 6. So like to have an 11-year-old sibling, yeah, they can do it. They can do it.
5 of them
The
too.
Perkins Pack team pushing.
Yeah. I mean, why is Why is that not happening at the 2023 Twilight 5K? Like that makes perfect sense. And we own the course, we own everything. Meaning it's our race, we approve it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Okay.
digress. Something to think about. Whatever. I digress. You know, Heather's going, yes,
Oh,
yes. Heather's
Heather's
listening.
she's probably texting me right now. Like, I
Yeah,
heard you say it, so that means it's for real. We're
yeah.
gonna make it happen.
So I got
Um,
Joe's jumping out of an airplane, and the Perkins Packer. No, I'm joking.
that airplane, man. I don't.
Or was Heather jumping? Was she saying Heather was
She-
jumping, or you?
Yeah, and I don't know.
Probably
We might
both.
need to. We might no. I won't be there. You'll be there. So the hip injury is obviously better enough that you
Yeah.
ran a half marathon
Good. Mhm.
recently.
Mhm.
So what I'm understanding though is if you ran a half marathon recently, then in October you can run a marathon.
No.
That was a long pause. That was a long.
Because I was
pause.
calculating all the training in my head. I'm like, do I want to train for a marathon in Houston in the summer? Ooh, I do not.
Well, you're knowing that you already ran a half marathon. You really only have to do half of the training, or embrace the taper and just go
And
with it.
taper
Walk up
for
it.
4 months.
Walk up a hill backwards with your hands in your pocket, and like you'll be okay.
Dude, yeah. Look, Lauren, look, she's strong, dude. She's not going to fold to this baloney, this bullying.
Leah wants to run the People's Marathon in our nation's capital.
Oh,
I've
okay.
heard that's a great race. I've heard that's
Well,
really great.
weird. Oddly enough, we have bibs for it.
We're almost desperate sounding here. This is bad.
I'm gonna get somebody like a guest, and we're gonna run out of guests here before it. That's like commits on the episode. It's like
On the
done,
episode.
committed. It has not happened yet. I don't think.
So, as we told you at the beginning, Lauren, there's no script to this podcast. We just come in here and just have a blast, and we hope that you've enjoyed kind of reflecting on your journey and sharing some of it. Is there anything that you shared today that maybe you haven't unpacked or visited in a while?
Really, all of it. I mean,
Cool.
yeah, I haven't talked about all the early days in a long time.
Yeah. So as a person in the mental health psychology background space, like you might agree, like there's some some goodness to that, to revisiting it, but sometimes it can leave you a certain kind of way. So I mean, we need to acknowledge that we appreciate your vulnerability today, bringing us on this journey. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I love sharing the stories. I love hearing other people's stories and then sharing, hoping somebody gets something out of it.
Mother's Day approaching. Lauren doesn't really give two hoots about Mother's Day. She said it another sort of way. This time around, her Levi's gonna, what's he gonna do? Give you a hug.
Yeah.
Um, what is something that you may have from your perspective and your journey as a mother of sextuplets that you want to share maybe with our listeners, whether those are future moms, current moms, women, people, whatever. Is there any nugget you want to share?
Gosh, from motherhood. I've talked to a lot of moms with kiddos that are younger than mine, and I think as moms, we struggle to give ourselves grace, and we're really hard on ourselves to do everything right and perfect, and we think we're just doing a bad job, or that other people are doing it better, and that's not true. It's just giving yourself some grace to let some things go. Like, not everything's going to be perfect, not everything's going to be done. And just coming back to, are your kids loved? Are they taken care of? Like, they're good, and you're doing a good job. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 kid or 6 kids or 10 kids, or we're all doing the best we can, and you're doing a good job.
That's strong. I like that. It's good. So simply put, but so profound at the same time. And a lot of times we don't, whether it's motherhood or just humanhood, we beat ourselves up. And having someone tell us that we're doing okay and it's going to be all right, and these things can be helpful. So thanks for sharing that, Joe. It's on your mind.
Giving myself some grace. I don't know. Like I wrote it down. Like that's like, Vishal said, just be present and like reminding ourselves as adults, as parents, like to be present, to give ourselves some grace, like that it's going to be okay. Find that, silver lining with the right perspective and just keep moving forward. Which is, not easy a lot of times, again, whether it's 1, 6, 10 kids or no kids, just, like that picture I sent you the other day, Rooster, like there's an easy way and a hard way to get there, but it's going to be some bumps along the way or big rocks. Like just keep going and give yourself some grace.
Yeah, give yourself some grace. That's the big nugget I got from Lauren today, and the traveling of the journey from we're trying our best to become pregnant to we are pregnant to we are over pregnant. Ha ha ha. That's a little joke. To how do we how do we navigate that space? And then the children come, and then just everything you've shared, like it's exhausting to think of the past 11 years or the past 11 and a half years. But if we give ourselves grace, as you alluded to, as you told us to, suddenly you can exhale. You're not as exhausted anymore. And when we're not exhausted, we can have our faculties about us and we can focus and we can think and we can go forward. So, yeah, I like that. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. This was fun.
One of the things that you told us today that stood out to me is like they're independent humans. Like they're all their own personalities. They're all living their lives, and really all you and your husband can do is kind of set the conditions for them to continue to grow and be independent. And it's
And that's the goal of parenting. My big picture perspective is, right, we're trying to make these people to go out and be independent, functioning, productive members of society, and so it's just guiding them the best we can and teaching them what we can teach while we have them.
The Together We Shall podcast has no script. It just has people that are human coming together to share their stories, and this story was fun, and it just so happened to tie into Mother's Day beautifully. Lauren, final word. You have the cog, Mom. Go ahead.
Okay, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and I hope you get to take a nap.
You know what? I got enough.
He's in charge.
We're done. This was good.
Yeah, we're done here. The structure of this building has reached its capacity.
Find your people, and if they make you feel sexy, even better.